All right, welcome back to the Shade Tree Garage, and my wife and I just returned this afternoon from Bowling Green, Kentucky, the site of the Tri-5 Nationals. Now, this was our first year ever attending the Tri-5 Nationals. They were at Beech Bend, which is an amusement park, drag strip, camping area. They've got a little bit of everything there. Now, I'm guessing there were 3,000 or 4,000 Tri-5s there. There were a sea of Tri-5s, and you could see every body style ever produced, and then some that weren't produced, like a four-door that's been shortened into a two-door. Lots of great-looking cars, you know. Unfortunately, mine's not necessarily one of them, but I did get a little attention from the wagon fans. I've got some critiques of the event to pass along, but let me tell you, if you can make it at all, you should go. If you're a Tri-5 fan, there were more. It's hard to even count, and I will tell you what, I'm guilty because I didn't take any pictures. I was just overwhelmed by the quality and the quantity of Tri-5 Chevys. Now, one place I didn't get to that I wanted to, twice a day they had nostalgia drags featuring Tri-5 gassers. Now that would have been a dang hoot, let me tell you. And you know, before the event and afterwards, they were, you know, making the circuit through the show area. All right, so yeah, there was lots of quality cars there. Now my critiques, again, this is my first year there. The first problem we ran into on Thursday, well, we went there and picked up we registered, which took no time at all. The staff was super and friendly, and it was easy to find. All right. Now, what wasn't so easy to find was where we went from there and how to navigate Beech Bend and where the cars were. We had some very rudimentary, undetailed map that came with our registration packet. Now, a lot of guys have been going for 8-10 years, and so they know Beech Bend like the back of their hand. On the other hand, I did not. And the map was woefully inadequate, and embarrassingly inadequate, to be quite frank. Now, 40 years ago, I went to the Street Machine Nationals, sponsored by CarCraft. I went to several of those. The maps they had of the fairgrounds where they hosted the event were just head and shoulders above what the Tri-5 Association is putting out there as a map to help people navigate. You know, hell, I would volunteer to help improve the map if they would let me. It's pitiful. It really is. So anyway, my wife and I got there Thursday, and afterward, you know, we're trying to find where do you go to, where's the car show area? Well, it had labels around the drag strip, but it didn't define where that area was or how to get there. And so my wife and I kind of wandered around, drove around the camping area, and we never really got to where the cars were being parked. We wound up in the spectator parking area, and just ended up, we cruised around as much as I could stand, and then we never parked. We just left. But finding a way out of there was another problem. Figuring out where we were on this inadequate map and how to get the hell out of there. We wandered around and finally found an exit and got out of there. So that mapping is an issue, especially for first timers. Anyway, we didn't get anywhere on Thursday. So Friday morning we decided that we'll follow others who are going in because we know what they're going to do. They're looking for a place to set up, to park their car and set up their 10x10 tent, whatever, their grill, whatever they have. And so that's exactly what we did. We followed a line of Tri-5s in, and then followed them around to where we needed to be. One of the areas where we could park and set up. It really wasn't detailed on the map. I mean, if it wasn't for following those guys, I'd never have found where I was supposed to. Now, the other problem was so many of the Tri-Fivers know each other, and so they block off 3-4 parking areas to save them for their friends. Well, so I'm left. There's no place I can park because they've got trash cans and chairs and stuff blocking that. They only want to put one person they know to park there. And I thought that was really, I understand it, but it's unfair for those of us who are just looking for a place to park. That's all we want to do. You know, it was 90, in the 90s, it was hot. And my car is hot, no air conditioning. And driving around in a hot damn car and dodging golf carts was quite a problem. And the problem with the golf carts isn't really the golf carts. My 55 wagon sits very low, and so every time I had to pull off and these paths weren't but about 10 feet wide. I think they were more designed for golf carts. Anyway, when I pulled off and I dropped a tire on the passenger side off, that passenger side exhaust is dragging, and it sounds like hell. And so until I got past the golf carts and you get both wheels back up on the smooth asphalt, you know, it's just what I had to put up with. And I constantly wondered, well, is it going to break loose this time or not? You know, I mean, it drags on substantial bumps anyway. And so we had it loaded with all our stuff on Thursday, and then brought some of it back on Friday. Our big tent and all that was in the back, so it was sitting a little lower than usual. But man, I was dragging everywhere I went, and I finally ended up just happened up on a spot, and it was now they had areas that were marked off that were designed to be entrance and exit into the grassy areas, and they had designated rows for people to park in for those designated rows. And so on one end of a row, right by an entrance, they had staked off an area, and there was a utility pole there. Well, I had enough room to squeeze my Chevy in between the utility pole and the entrance that they had marked off. I had plenty of room to do that, and so that's where I parked my Chevy. Nobody else seemed to want that spot. There was a car parked to the left of it and on down that row, but on that end right there by the entrance, that's where I snuck in. And then my wife and I put up our 10 by 10 tent and enjoyed the event. We were right there on the main one of the paths, so we had quite a parade of cars coming through, and of course the ubiquitous golf carts. And so actually driving on the busy day on Friday, just driving around trying to follow golf carts and not run them over was quite the task. I didn't run over any golf carts, but my wife and I stayed till about mid-afternoon. Then we took our tent down and decided to leave. Nothing about the event now. Now our neighbor, and I don't know his name, but he was from Kansas, and they had a golf cart, and they used between them. I think 4 of them were together, and so they drove us to the concession area where we could, or a vendor area, where I got a Tri-5 Nationals T-shirt and also a garage sign for my garage. So they were nice enough to do that because my wife and I were starting out on foot, and so they said, "Hey, you know how to use a golf cart?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do. I just don't have one." So they were going to let me take the golf cart, but one of the other guys said, "I'll drive you guys." So they were kind enough to drive us over there. Now, I really wanted to go to the nostalgia drags, which I didn't, but again, I've got a list of things to remember for next year, and the first one, top of the list, is a golf cart, to reserve one. And those guys told me that if you don't reserve it by January sometime, you may or may not be able to reserve one for the Tri-5 Nationals. Air conditioning is another plus too, and so that's another item high on my list, is to equip my wagon with air conditioning. And another big item on my list is going to be to redo the exhaust so it doesn't drag. Right now, and it may just be that the headers the headers come down low and the pipe just comes straight back, and that's the problem. If the exhaust pipe could be routed a little closer to the floor, it probably wouldn't drag as much. Anyway, all things, projects for the future. I can't say enough about the Tri-5 Nationals. It was awesome, and the sad part is I didn't get to see as much of it as I wanted, mostly because I just can't walk the whole fairgrounds. From where I was at, you could hear the drags going on, and there was some great sounding cars racing. Another item I think would be very useful at the Tri-5 Nationals is a vendor-sponsored taxi. Now, this would be free to all the participants, and you could ask them to take you anywhere on the grounds, and they would take you there and drop off. And it would have to be some sort of regular circuit, that they'd make rounds. But I think that would be a tremendous value to participants, because if you don't have your own golf cart, I can't walk those fairgrounds. It's just too much distance, and also for some of us who have some issues walking. I mean, I can walk, but preferably on level ground. But you're walking over rough, turf. You can pretty easily twist an ankle. So a taxi service. One of the vendors should pony up and provide this service for the participants of the Tri-5 Nationals. My wife and I, a number of years back, went to the drag NHRA Nationals in Indianapolis, and drag racer John Force was the one who sponsored a taxi there for people with handicap to bring them from the parking area up to the event. And that was a tremendous benefit and a wonderful thing for John Force to do out of his own pocket. So surely we have a Tri-5 vendor that'd be willing to take this on to give people rides from one area to another, and maybe then back to their car. Anyway, that's my rant for the day. And I don't know if I saw you at the Tri-5 Nationals or not, but it's certainly worth putting on your bucket list for next year. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll be back again here from the Shade Tree Garage.